What Formula One has just done after Canada is massive. Days after Mercedes turned Montreal into a statement weekend, the FIA has now switched off one of the biggest 2026 Aero weapons for Monaco. And suddenly the team that looked untouchable doesn't look quite so untouchable anymore. This isn't a Mercedes ban in the literal sense, but it absolutely is a rule intervention that could hit the silver cars harder than anyone else. Let me explain exactly why this matters. The big discovery here is simple. Monaco will not use active aerodynamics in the normal 2026 way. According to Autosport and Motorsport.com, the FIA has decided that the Monaco Grand Prix will run without straight mode, with fixed aerodynamic surfaces instead, because the cars risked becoming too fast at the tunnel exit with very limited runoff. That's huge, because active aero was supposed to be one of the headline features of this new era. It changes drag on the straights, it changes balance, it changes how teams build the entire car. And then, for the most famous street circuit on the calendar, Formula One has basically said, not here. Now pay attention to the timing. This comes straight after Canada, where Mercedes didn't just win again. They made a statement. Kimi Antonelli took victory in Montreal in 1 hour, 28 minutes, 15.758 seconds, winning by 10.7 seconds over Lewis Hamilton, with Max Verstappen third. That was Antonelli's fourth straight Grand Prix win. It also kept Mercedes unbeaten in 2026. George Russell was right in the fight too, until his lap 30 retirement with a power unit issue. So yes, Monaco's active aero shut-off lands right after a weekend where the W17 looked brutally effective. And Mercedes didn't arrive in Canada with the same car. Formula1.com's Tech Weekly said the Montreal package ran from the front wing all the way to the diffuser, and that it was designed primarily to increase the car's spread of downforce in all conditions, especially at the rear. That's the key phrase. Spread of downforce in all conditions. In other words, Mercedes didn't find one magic trick for one corner. They made the car broader, calmer and stronger across more situations. That's exactly the kind of gain that makes rivals nervous. So what are we really looking at here? First, the official Monaco change. The FIA's logic is safety. The active aero concept for 2026 uses different modes to reduce drag on the straights and recover cornering performance elsewhere. Formula1.com has been explaining this all year as one of the defining ideas of the new rules. But Monaco is different. The walls are close, the tunnel exit is fast, the runoff is tiny. So the FIA has effectively chosen to freeze the aero surfaces for that race. No straight mode, no version of the old DRS either, just fixed wings and a very different setup challenge. Second, the Mercedes angle. Their W17 has looked like the benchmark car of the season. Russell won in Australia. Antonelli won in China, Japan, Miami and Canada. Antonelli now has 131 points. Russell has 88. That's a 43-point gap inside the same team after Canada. Think about that for a second. Mercedes are not just leading. They are leading with two drivers who keep putting the field under pressure, and Canada suggested their latest package made that pressure even worse. Third, the separate wing controversy around Mercedes has not gone away. Motorsport.com reported that after teams had to reveal their 2026 designs following China, rivals raised eyebrows over the Mercedes front wing. The allegation wasn't that Mercedes had been banned. That's important. The article explicitly said the team was not under FIA investigation in the formal sense. But technical checks were taking place as part of the ongoing development of the 2026 regulations. The claim is that the closing movement of the wing may operate in two stages. The first stage reportedly complies with the 400 millisecond limit in the regulations. Then, a second command brings the elements to full closure, extending the total closing time beyond the allowance. Think of it like this. Imagine a door with a speed limiter. If you slam the first part shut within the legal time, but then quietly complete another part of the movement immediately after, have you obeyed the spirit of the rule or just the censor? That's why people in the paddock are watching this so closely. The potential gain, according to Motorsport.com's explanation, is improved balance when load transfers forward under braking, especially at corner entry. On a 2026 car where active surfaces are doing a lot more than old-school DRS ever did, that matters. And this is why the Monaco decision matters even more than it first appears. When you remove active aero from the equation for one weekend, you also remove one layer of advantage that teams may have integrated more successfully than others. Mercedes' Montreal package was aimed at boosting downforce spread, particularly at the rear. Monaco, meanwhile, becomes all about maximum downforce, low-speed rotation, qualifying confidence and mechanical trust over curbs and bumps. Motorsport.com's reading was blunt. On paper, Monaco should be favourable territory for Ferrari because the SF26 is regarded as one of the best cars in medium and low-speed corners, even if it lacks power at high engine speeds. That matters because Canada wasn't that kind of race. Canada rewarded traction, straight-line efficiency, and confidence over the curbs, and Mercedes nailed it. Monaco is a completely different exam. The same report even said the race becomes a chance for anyone hoping to challenge the otherwise unbeatable Mercedes. Those are strong words. Not better Mercedes, not leading Mercedes, unbeatable Mercedes. So if the FIA is taking away one of the key tools of the 2026 concept for Monaco, you can see why fans instantly read it as a hit to the current benchmark. But here's the thing, calling it a Mercedes Aero ban would go too far. And if you're building a YouTube script on this story, you've got to stay honest. What is verified is that Monaco will run without active Aero straight mode because of safety concerns. What is also verified is that Mercedes' front-wing concept has drawn scrutiny and is under technical review as part of normal ongoing rule development. What is not verified in the sources I checked is a formal FIA announcement saying Mercedes have been banned from using their Aero system after Canada. That's not what Formula1.com, Autosport, Motorsport.com, The Race or Sky Sports are reporting right now. That doesn't make the story smaller. If anything, it makes it more interesting. Because the real story is how quickly Formula One is having to manage the side effects of the 2026 rules. Sky Sports quoted the FIA, saying the compression ratio issue would be controlled in both hot and cold conditions from June 1, 2026, and FIA single-seater director Nicholas Tombazis said, "I don't think this topic ever needed to get to the level of attention and that there was no cheat or anything like that. That was about the engine dispute, not the wing." But it tells you the mood inside the FIA right now. They are trying to cool down controversies while still tightening procedures where they think the rules need it. Formula1.com used very careful wording after the latest regulation meeting. The FIA said the recent rule refinements were designed to improve safety and reduce excessive harvesting and had delivered improved competition. That is the framework. Safety first, then competitive balance. If Monaco's active Aero shutdown sits inside that same logic, then this is the governing body acting early rather than waiting for a near miss. Now, what about the rivals? Ferrari will be looking at this weekend as a real opportunity. Motorsport.com said the SF26 may be lacking at high engine speeds, but in medium and low-speed corners, it is widely regarded as one of the best packages on the grid. On a circuit where horsepower matters less and commitment through the walls matters more, that's exactly the sort of profile you want. Lewis Hamilton's second place in Canada already felt like a step. Formula1.com even reported Hamilton praising Ferrari for moving mountains behind the scenes after that breakthrough. If Ferrari can qualify near the front in Monaco, this could be their best chance yet to put Mercedes under real pressure. McLaren are interesting too. The same motorsport report pointed out that the MCL40 has the shortest wheelbase on the grid, which could be a real strength around Monaco. The article also said McLaren were expected to build the highest downforce combination from parts already available, rather than spend extra budget cap resources on a one-off Monaco special. That tells you two things. One, they still think they can be competitive there. Two, Mercedes have made life hard enough that even strong teams are choosing their spending battles carefully. Then you have the political layer. Carlos Sainz said he is a big fan of the rulers taking a very strong approach and strong stance on it if changes are for the good of the sport, the racing and the show. Max Verstappen, according to Motorsport.com, warned that if necessary changes were blocked by political games, it would be mentally not doable for him to continue. Those quotes were made in the broader context of future rules, not specifically Monaco. But the principle is identical. Drivers want the FIA and Formula One to act decisively when the racing product or safety picture demands it. Toto Wolff, meanwhile, has been trying to keep the temperature down around Mercedes. On the engine saga, Sky Sports quoted him saying the whole thing looked like a storm in a teacup. After Canada, though, his focus shifted back to the on-track fight between his own drivers. He called the Antonelli-Russell battle just acceptable and added, "I think probably 10% less battling would have made us all happier, but it's okay." That's fascinating. Mercedes are so quick right now that their biggest visible headache is almost internal. Yet Monaco could change that. The minute the advantage shrinks, the whole conversation changes from managing your own drivers to surviving external attacks. And that's why the regulation question here is bigger than one weekend. The 2026 rules were always sold as a reset. Smaller cars, more electrical power, new power units. New active Aero, new overtaking tools. But 5 races in, Formula One is already refining the details. Formula1.com reported more changes were agreed in principle after meetings involving the FIA, F1, team principals, and power unit manufacturers. The FIA said further adjustments were being evaluated, including start safety revisions and wet condition measures. In other words, this rulebook is still being shaped in real time. So when Monaco suddenly becomes a fixed Aero event, that's not some random one-off curiosity. It's part of a bigger pattern. Formula One is discovering where the 2026 package works brilliantly and where it needs intervention. Canada showed how spectacular the racing can be when drivers can attack with these cars. Monaco has forced the FIA to ask a tougher question. What happens when the headline innovation pushes the speed envelope too far for a circuit with almost no margin for error? And Mercedes happen to be the team most exposed to that answer because they are currently the reference. The team that dominates under a new rule set always gets watched the hardest. Every upgrade gets photographed. Every actuator gets slowed down on video. Every clever interpretation gets discussed in the paddock. That's just how Formula One works. So what happens next? My prediction is this. Monaco will compress the field. I still think Mercedes will be quick because their Canada package was built to add downforce, not just efficiency, and Monaco is still a place where a good rear end and a confident front axle matter massively. But I don't think they stroll away with it. Ferrari should be much closer. McLaren should be much closer. And if Mercedes' active systems or front-wing behavior were giving them any extra edge in transitional phases, Monaco is exactly the sort of place where removing one layer of that advantage can suddenly bring the others right back into the game. Longer term, I think the FIA will keep trimming and clarifying these rules. Not because Mercedes have done something illegal, we do not have evidence for that right now, but because the 2026 cars are teaching the sport hard lessons very quickly. The compression ratio test changes prove the FIA will intervene mid-season if needed. The Monaco Aero decision proves they are willing to alter the application of the new package for circuit-specific safety reasons. And the Mercedes wing discussion proves rivals are already hunting every grey area they can find. If you ask me, this is the real headline. Mercedes haven't been banned. They've become the target. And in Formula One, that's what happens the moment you build the fastest car. So now the question is simple. Has the FIA just handed Ferrari and McLaren their first real shot at stopping Mercedes, or will the W17 still crush Monaco even without one of the new era's biggest aero tricks? Let me know what you think. And if you want more fact-checked F1 deep dives like this, make sure you subscribe because this 2026 season is only getting more chaotic.